Okay, we are live with Victoria and Erica Spencer. Victoria, I didn't say your last name because I don't want to mess it up.
Okay.
Let me try first though. Victoria Suen?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
That's pretty. Just give it to me. Tell me how I'm supposed to say your last name. What's the proper way?
Yeah, I just say Suen, Victoria Suen.
Just say Suen. How do you say it?
Yeah, Suen.
Okay, there we go. So Victoria's here because you have a pretty crazy story, and I mean crazy by the best way possible. You got to walk me through this. First of all, I asked you where you were born because I didn't know if you were born in Canada or in China. Maybe both parents born in China?
Yeah, both parents born in China.
And then you told me, yeah, I'm born in Mississauga. And we're like, oh, yeah, we grew up in Mississauga. So
Yeah.
I was actually born in Toronto, but Nick and I both born in Toronto, but quickly moved to Mississauga.
Yeah.
Burnhamthorpe, Dixie area. You are Eglinton, Credit View area.
Mm-hmm.
And we were just saying you grew up close to where that property was that almost bankrupted our family. So if you're ever at Mississauga Road in Eglinton, and if you drive north on Mississauga Road towards Streetsville, the just a block kind of north of the lights there on the left, the house was there. It's marked in my mind forever.
Yeah, it's crazy. Just around the corner from my parents' house.
Yeah.
They still live there, so.
They do?
Yeah.
Got it. And you were saying both parents, we talked about that a little bit, and I didn't expect to get into this, but both parents born in China. Your father worked in Hong Kong for a little while. When did they come to Canada?
Oh, I don't even know how long ago it was now. Probably over 35 years.
Okay, so they've been here
I'm 30 now, so.
You're 30, and so they've been here for some time.
Yeah.
And how many siblings?
I have 3 older sisters, so that definitely played a role in part of the real estate journey.
Yeah, so walk us through this. So how did you get in the story that you shared? So you shared a beautiful Member of the Month story with us. And in your story here, you say you were watching HGTV and you knew you wanted to get into real estate. So you just made an appointment to go see some properties. It sounds like the age of 19 or even maybe a little earlier. Can you just walk us through that? Why you were always interested in property?
Yeah, so having 3 older sisters, I would see them. They'd kind of work summers. They'd have to work in the kind of factory, helping with packaging. And I knew that I didn't want to work those jobs. So like very early on, I would work these summer jobs just to make money. And I guess I just knew that, there's just like a better way to like save money or invest in money. So I got into investing pretty early on, and I bought like mutual funds through my mom because I was too young to buy them. So she actually had to sign off for me because I was under 18. And then those returns were good, but I was just thinking like, I want to do something else. So then I looked at real estate and I watched a ton of HDTV, all the flipping shows. So I knew I just wanted to do it. It just seemed really exciting, and I thought it'd be a lot of fun. Plus it's like good in terms of an investment strategy. I thought I didn't know the numbers at all. So I didn't know how to go about it. So I was talking to one of my sisters, and she's like, yeah, just do it. So she's just like, I don't know. I didn't know how to do it. So I didn't know any real estate agents in my network. So I just went on the internet and found somebody like Mississauga real estate agent. And then I just booked an appointment with somebody I found on the internet.
Can you imagine, imagine Erica, you were sitting there and Victoria shows up at you're 19 at this point.
Yeah.
It's saying, hey, I want to go look at a property. I mean, how did that go? You saw the first property. Did you buy the first property you saw? Well, how did that work?
So yeah, I booked an appointment. They're like, okay, you can come to the office. And then
they were trying to get you to sign a buyer's agency if they asked you to come to the office.
I really don't know, but they just had this conversation. And then at this point with it booked, I went to my oldest sister. I was like, hey, I have this appointment with a real estate agent. Do you want to come with me? And then she was like, okay, I'll come with you. That's fine. And then he walked us through several condos in Mississauga. So at the time around Square One, there's not too many condos. This was back in 2011. So there was a couple, and then he showed us units, he shared the numbers, and then with my older sister along, she was like, oh, this actually kind of makes sense. Like we can cash flow a little bit, not a ton of work, really turnkey. So she's like, okay, that makes sense. So she kind of was sold on the idea through that appointment. But then it turns out that her boyfriend's mom was a broker. So then she reached out to her, and then she was like, why buy a condo? You should buy like a townhouse or an actual house. Like you guys, I think, can afford it if you kind of pool your money together. And then we started looking at different properties with her.
Cool. Holy smokes. So then you bought a property. So after that, you look at the condo, you don't buy a condo. You end up buying, is it a house in Cambridge? Is that what you did? You pooled your money. Did all your sisters get involved?
Yeah.
And you bought this
so
property?
So we bought a townhouse in Mississauga.
Oh, you bought a townhouse in Mississauga?
2011, yeah.
In 2011. You rent out the townhouse?
Yes. It was pretty turnkey. So the four of us put together some money for the down payment. And then my older sister, she's 7 years older than me, so she could qualify for a mortgage at the time. She had a job. So, yeah, she was okay with that. And then we put our money together and then rented it out.
What a great group of sisters, all getting along together, putting their money together. Did one of the sisters hate your guts for doing this? Like, I'm sure somebody was like, I don't want to do this. You're dragging me into this.
Oh, yeah, there definitely was. So there's like some sibling dynamics there. But I think the three of us were on board, my oldest sister and then my sister that's 3 years older. And then the third sister, or the fourth sister, she didn't really understand. She didn't understand the numbers. She's like, how are we making money from this? But at this point, with the three sisters on board, we're just like, you have to do it. Like, you kind of just bullied her into it.
Yeah. Got it. You're in. Listen, this is a family thing. And then, so how do you then stop the property thing? Because then you went off to school. Like, how do you get to this Kitchener property? Walk us through that. Is it you go to school and leave real estate alone for a little while?
Exactly, yeah. So I went to school and I guess I didn't really understand real estate investing as like a business or like how you could really scale that. So yeah, just kind of growing up with the mindset of you have to get good grades and get a job and make good money, and that's kind of like on your way. So it's kind of just following that path. And so I went to university for architecture. And I kind of just left real estate for a while. And it's funny, in architecture, they kind of tell you not to think about, the numbers and like business. So it's kind of like frowned upon in a way. So that's
because it's just all about the design and the artistic representation of what you're building.
That, yeah, for sure. And also architecture as a practice is like a service to the public. Like they see it more as just like a service to the public, for the greater good. You don't think about the money and that kind of thing. So
do what's right.
Yeah, even though obviously like money is always part of the equation, so you can't leave that out.
Yeah.
And ultimately, when you leave school, like all projects have a budget, and that plays a role in the design. So it's kind of unrealistic to say, but they try to keep that out of like part of the education. So I think I started to think or stop thinking about real estate in that way. But then when I graduated, that's when, I still had that interest. I felt like I wanted more like building experience, like very hands-on, whether it was kind of like physically building with my hands or just understanding like the whole process of like, how do you buy real estate? How do you think about developing it, or just getting a full picture of how it all works?
It's interesting just how your other sisters probably didn't have these same interests. And it's just interesting how we're all so different. Like, why does Victoria, coming from a family like that, and you said building with your hands, like you knew you wanted to get into this. Mm-hmm. And it feels like it's an advantage almost when you're younger and you want to get into a certain field. Because I feel like I drifted around. Like I got into, I think I started school trying to become an engineer. Mm. And then I got into chemistry. Like, I don't know why. Like, I didn't go downtown Toronto. I realized the Mississauga campus for U of T didn't have engineering programs. So I was thrown into chemistry for some reason. Then I realized I hated chemistry. Got a Bachelor of Science in Psychology. I think U of T is the only school that offers a Bachelor of Science in Psychology, not a Bachelor of Arts. And I have a double major in Sociology. So I just drifted, no clue. And then I had a heart attack moment at graduation where I realized what I had learned. I had no skills. I had no skills. So then I had to go to a postgraduate IT school for university graduates for 9 months. It was $13,600 to learn some actual skills that I could then get a job. And then I went into software. So I feel like I was just drifting around. And then I stumbled into real estate thinking, oh, wow, this isn't going to really take me to where I want to go. But I feel like with you kind of had this inner feeling, or you just knew a little bit of the path you wanted to take. I feel that's...
Yeah, but I think I in high school, I didn't know where I was going to go either. I remember you had to apply to 3 different universities or programs. And then like the deadline's coming. I was like, I don't know what I'm applying for, so I guess I'm gonna throw out 3 applications, and I guess it's architecture now. I think I had a sense of generally the skills or things I like doing, but I didn't understand like how that could turn into a career. And then I think where maybe I started getting molded into like what I should be doing as part of society is kind of like, oh, you have to go to university, so naturally like, okay, what programs are out there, and it's like, okay, I need to be like get educated and get a good degree. So I guess like architecture is the most advanced one. So I'm going to go that way. And like, I think I could have been a real estate agent, or I could have done something in construction or real estate without necessarily going to like that path. But it was kind of, that was the path I needed to go on because that's the way I was brought up. So I kind of think back on that. There's so many different ways I think I could have went, and naturally I fall back into real estate, even though I went that path. But it didn't need to be that way.
No, yeah. Yeah, it's like society just kind of forms us.
Yes.
Like go to school, get this degree, and if you don't go, maybe you should go. Really think about going. You're kind of like, it's an unwritten kind of feeling you get,
Exactly.
you should go to school. I kind of think about that more and more as my son, he's at Western, he's 19 in second year, and I see what interests him and what he pays attention to. And he's seen what we've done as a family. And with Rockstar, he sees all the member stories all the time. He worked here this summer. So I feel like sometimes like, what's going through that head of his, just some of the conversations that we have. I'm wondering at that age, with everything going on in the world now, with what's possible, and then all the technology and all this kind of crypto stuff that we always talk about too. I'm like, wow, it's just a different world.
And how many careers those kids will have, or, young adults will have in their, path of career choice. I mean, when you were young, it was like probably like one career, and that's a lot of people, your colleagues, like kept that job for their whole life, for their career, their whole life.
Yeah.
Right? And then as it evolves,
Yeah, it's definitely changing.
Now millennials are like, oh, my first career out of 5 potentially. Right?
Yeah, and I kind of like that. Like I know you're an architect now, and you have that base, but you can also do anything you want.
Yeah, exactly. I feel that way. I think having that exposure to different things would have been, I think, really helpful back then, just so that you don't feel like you need to go on this path. I think I definitely felt that, but I think more and more people are open to the possibility that you don't have to follow like the traditional path of university or college, and that there's so many jobs that don't even exist today. So, like,
oh my gosh, so much of the stuff that's happening right now doesn't even exist. I don't know if yesterday, we're a little off topic here, but yesterday Twitter announced that you're going to be able to tip people who you think offer value. So if somebody publishes a great article or hosts a podcast or produces a video, you can actually tip them. It's through Bitcoin, of course, which makes me happy. So I'm really like, kind of like, this is amazing.
So
but
Bitcoin.
Yeah, but aside, no, I'm not asking for me to get any kind. I'm just saying Bitcoin is serving this kind of awesome need, because now if someone's halfway around the world in another country, but if they're offering me value, I can actually send them something of value back. Right. And I just think that changes the world for the better, because someone could be sitting in Argentina, Brazil, Slovakia, somewhere, anywhere, and we can all be participating. Whereas we've been, we grew up with nation states, and you kind of can send money around and participate in your nation state. But now you can just kind of see how a lot of these borders, not just from education and careers, but just national borders, just seem to be slowly kind of drifting away. And I think the next generation is going to grow up and look, and say like, what, why do we need these nations? Actually, it was my son. We were in Las Vegas this summer, and he was racing Ferraris. And yeah, I'm just thinking about that. We're definitely a spoiled family. Hey, my sons are racing Ferraris. It's something, you know what it was? I was totally like the dad, like, I wish I did this when I was your age. Let's go race Ferraris together. But he saw there's like a military base close to Las Vegas, and a fighter plane kind of went flying over, made a huge noise. And Aiden just looked at me. He's like, Dad, why do we even need these big armies anymore? And at his age, like in his mind, they're just not even processing that like there was like a history of having big armies, and that's how you protected the nation state. So in his world view and context, he's like, there should be no need for this kind of thing. Like it just seems so foreign to him to have that. Anyway, we're way off topic. We'll bring it back. So you went to school, and then you get back into the real estate game. How do you end up in Kitchener with this property?
Oh, so I went to the University of Waterloo. So the architecture campus was in Cambridge, but I did a semester in Kitchener. And then after I graduated, I kind of saw a lot of the tech companies growing there in Kitchener-Waterloo, and I was really interested to see like how does that begin to maybe play a role in how the city is being built, and are there kind of cool architecture design companies, and I just wanted to be there. So I decided I got a job in Waterloo, and then I started getting bored at my day job. So then I was looking at property, and then it was super cheap at the time. Like I bought that one in the low 200s. I think it was like 220. And I saw the LRT was getting built and condos were going up. So the whole midtown of Kitchener was developing. So it was kind of like a no-brainer, like houses around there.
Didn't Google put its campus or something?
Yeah, they just moved there as well.
Okay.
So I think the condo prices were more than some of the houses there. So I was like, this is a no-brainer. Like, I buy this house, these condos are going to get built, and then they're naturally at least going to be at what the condo price is, if not more, obviously, because there's land. So, yeah, I bought a house. It was like a bit of a fixer-upper, and then I did some work on it.
Yeah, very cool. And your sisters, did you cut them out at this point?
They weren't as interested in real estate. Like, I think they were cool with like the one investment property. They were off, I guess, working. They wanted to have like their own place.
Sure.
So.
Yeah. And then you survived a lot on that property because I think you had to do did you do some renovations yourself?
I did. Part of it was because I wanted to learn, and part of it was trying to save money, but I think I slowly learned that was not the way. But I think it was just an interesting process. Like, I tried to do as much of the work myself just because I want to work with my hands and like understand construction and stuff. So I kind of did the demolition. I did some of the drywall. I did the electrical. And eventually I hired some of the stuff out. It kind of took way too long.
You did the drywall and electrical yourself?
Yeah, I put up the boards. I didn't like mud and tape. I hated that job.
But still putting up the boards, like, I mean, these are like...
Yeah, so it's funny, like, I didn't have a boyfriend at the time, and like my neighbors were like, oh, where's your boyfriend helping you? And I was like, no, and then they just see me, like, and I got a drywall crane because like one person.
You literally did this by yourself, nobody was helping you.
Like some of it, yeah, but eventually, like I did some, like half of it myself, and then I was like, okay, this is
because a
like
sheet
ridiculous.
of drywall is 4 by 8 feet. Like this is so you had to get a drywall.
Oh yeah. So that part, the ceiling part, I did get somebody to help me, but like the boards on the walls, I would actually put up myself. But it was like, yeah, it was ridiculous. I eventually figured out my limit, and then that's when I like hired out the help. But I think it took way too long to learn that lesson, and that renovation took, I think, like 6 to 8 months. Like way too long.
Yeah, but the lessons that you picked up from doing that yourself now are serving you so well. Because when you hire someone, you know what's involved.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, good for you. You, Victoria, I mean this in the best possible way. You're totally kind of like a badass. Like that's serious shit that you did there. Yeah, especially with the neighbors coming out talking to you. Like that's intimidating. You know,
they're like super friendly. That was like the first time I was like, oh, this is what it feels like to be a homeowner, because like the neighbors, they're trying to be your friend, and I was like, oh, okay, like I don't know, it's just funny, I guess. Like at the time, I was still like early 20s, so then I'm still used to like being at my parents' house and just nobody's talking to you because you're like the kids of.
And you have a full-time job at this point?
Yeah.
So you're doing this at like evenings, weekends?
Yeah. So I'd finish my job, go to the house, do a bunch of work, then go back to Mississauga. I was still living with my parents at the time. So I was doing that whole commute. And that was part of the reason why it took so long. But yeah, I took like weekends, evenings, working on it as much as I could.
Good for you. Awesome story. Holy smokes. And then what? So that property then you rent out?
Yeah, so I eventually just rented it out, a single family house. And I think like that was the project where I was kind of like, okay, there has to be a better way. Like I don't want to be renovating by myself.
You don't want to be a drywaller? Drywall wasn't your calling?
Yeah,
I grew up with drywall, so I feel like that's just in my blood.
I still hate it.
Yeah.
But so then that's when I started looking at like, are there real estate groups? Like, where are people I can learn from? And that's where I found Rockstar. Like, I was just internet searching again, I guess.
Yeah, got it. So you stumble into us. That's when you meet Erica, I assume. And then Erica, what you start going out with Victoria because you're able to buy more property. Is Victoria dragging you? Erica is definitely driven. So
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, between the two of you together, who's dragging who out here? Were you dragging Erica to places you wanted to go see, or were you listening to Erica and saying, hey, show me some other stuff?
There was no dragging. The first day out, she were offered on 2 properties.
No way.
The first day, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Who is this girl?
Yeah, who is this guy? Yeah, and you had the financing in place, or you were just going to make the offers and then figure out the financing after?
Yeah, the latter.
Yeah.
I think we only bought the one, and then the second one we didn't go through with.
So
I guess
where-
I thought, I was just like, okay, I thought we could do it.
So
she
where
liked
was
them both, so-
where was this? What did you show? You went to
St. Catharines.
Yeah.
Okay, and what did you show Victoria? What kind of properties?
Single family homes.
Yeah, they're mostly turnkey, I would say, like maybe a bit of cosmetic work, but yeah, single family homes at that point.
Yeah.
And then at that point, were these just going to be straight rent? So you were looking for something that didn't need repair, just maybe a little bit of cosmetic stuff.
Yeah,
Be able to
exactly.
straight rent. What was important to you? Was Erica? Were you sharing just like rent numbers and carrying costs? Like, how were you analyzing those properties?
Both rent numbers. The one you renovated, Chaplin, you did a lot of reno, no?
It was just paint and a bit of renovation, not like extensive at all. But I think for me, I didn't even have St. Catharines on my radar. So
Most people don't.
yeah, at the
I think
time.
people do now.
Yeah, exactly now. But I think back then I was like, I want to buy in Hamilton.
2017, right?
2017 or
yeah.
2018, like early 2017 we're looking, and then I think I bought in 2018. But I think I wanted to buy in Hamilton. I was like, oh, let's go to Hamilton. They're like, I don't know if that works for the numbers that you want to look in. So then they're like, how have you thought about St. Catharines? And then I was like, not really. So they kind of educated me on like what's going on there, and it's a good market. And eventually she convinced me that
Yeah.
that we can, like, it's
Yeah, I
it's
feel
good.
like there wasn't too much convincing involved. That you
I
saw
don't
the
know.
you saw the you
2
saw the
weeks or
numbers.
so.
So
2 weeks, two
and
weeks
then-
of convincing.
And then you bought into, so you have the Mississauga home with your sisters. You have a Kitchener property. Then you go to St. Catharines. You make an offer on 2 properties. It seems like really quick. You pick up one of the properties. Do you remember what you bought the property for?
It was 309.
309 in 2007?
18.
2018?
2018, yeah.
So 2 to 3 years ago now?
Yeah.
How much do you think that property's worth now? Ballpark. I know none of us are going to have an exact number.
High
If you had to
fives
guess.
for sure.
High fives. Okay, so walk me through your St. Catharines journey. You buy one property or multiple properties?
I just bought the one there, and I think it took a month to like paint it and then rent it out to single family. So that was pretty good. And then I think kind of paused for a little bit, so I didn't buy anything. And then when I reached back out to Erica, she had like a newsletter of a Best Buy property. And then I think at the time it fell through. So then she's like, actually, this property, it's kind of back on the market if you're interested. But it was in Welland, and then that was like another.
Yeah,
like, oh,
Welland. You tricked me into St. Catharines. Now you're saying, what's this place called Welland?
Exactly. So I was like, I don't know about Welland, but I guess
That's
like,
the face. The well.
Yeah.
and yeah, she's like, but then I was thinking like she convinced me about St. Catharines, so it's like, okay, maybe. So then she sent me some articles about like Welland, and it's like it's okay. I think it turns out to be a pretty good city. So then, I think she showed me some like pictures and video. I think I bought it sight unseen because you showed me other properties in Welland, but then we didn't decide to go with those, and that's when you showed me this one that was on your Best Buy newsletter, but we didn't go take a look at it, but I just put in an offer. I think I was more sold on like, okay, Welland's okay, I'm fine with just
I think the last
making an
4
offer.
you haven't seen in person.
yeah,
Yeah.
just Erica. I trust what she sends me.
Yeah, we don't talk about that too much, but so many people, after you develop a relationship with people that you believe are going to have your back, well, we see that over and over again where investors are just buying properties sight unseen. But did you see it maybe during the home inspection, or was this
Yeah.
a firm deal with no home inspection?
It wasn't firm. It was.
I think we did see it. I remember like.
I like
taking
how
some
neither of you can
measurements.
exactly
I
remember.
don't
Yeah,
remember.
like, listen, we bought this property. I don't know if we got a home inspection. I don't even know what we bought. I don't
There
even.
was a home inspection.
I don't even know if I still own it. I know I'm getting some rent. I'm
Exactly.
getting some rent from somewhere. So this property you buy sight unseen, you're renting. What I'm curious. You say you were kind of convinced on Welland. So I guess we look at things like, it's kind of a natural place where population is kind of moving into. more people can't afford close to Toronto, so just the population's kind of growing out there. Then we look at rents and property prices, and if the rents can carry the expenses to us, it's like, okay, we have population growth coming that way. We have a rent of this amount. The property can be purchased for this amount. Kind of seems to make sense. Is that how you looked at it?
Yeah, for sure. I think like the numbers definitely is like the first indicator, but I think generally I still like to invest in a city that I believe in. That's why I invest in Mississauga. That's why I invest in Kitchener. And a lot of those cities is kind of understanding where the city's economic development was going and their overall approach. And Kitchener, they're like really strong on like tech, investing in transportation, public transit, whatnot. They had the university, so many good indicators. And in my opinion, it's like the best of the Tri-Cities. And even like working with, like I talked to some of the economic development people, they're just way more pro-development than the other two. So I felt the same way with Welland. Talking to other investors, City of Welland, easier to work with than say the City of St. Catharines. Welland having, a good, manufacturing base, a lot of like good indicators in economic development. So I felt like similar thing in that within the Niagara region, it had really strong indicators as a city. And then pulling, the, I guess, drive from like Hamilton and St. Catharines, I think it had some of that pull into the city, even though it wasn't as close. But overall, I think learning about that, I felt more convinced about the city on top of the numbers.
Yeah, very cool.
And that one had multiple exit strategies, so it could have been student rental or two families or single family.
So it was close enough to Brock, so it could have been a student rental? No, Welland, sorry.
Welland, Niagara College.
Niagara College, sorry. I thought it was St. Catharines still. Sorry. Niagara College. So it could have been a student rental. And then what else could you have run that as?
Well, she put a basement suite, so now it's two families, but it was single family.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
She bought it.
So you hired a contractor to put in a second suite into that?
Yeah, so I did my own drawings for the
Oh yeah, that
permit.
makes sense. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
that's
fun.
You are a badass. Hold on, I'm just gonna do some drawings up on this thing. Holy, what an advantage you have.
Yeah. So like I knew what to kind of check for to make sure that it was possible, and then submitted the permit drawings, and then Erica helped me out with finding different local contractors.
So you checked with the city to see what the legal requirements are for a second suite. You're the architect, so you can make the drawings. Mm-hmm. You submit them to the city. You have a huge advantage right now. Yeah. Huge advantage. Mm-hmm. And I think going forward in this whole area with laneway, garden suite property, like there is so much stuff coming out that no one really knows how to get the approvals on. Mm-hmm. If you can do your own drawings, you're going to be able to do a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah. There's somebody from Toronto. I think it is a firm from Toronto that's coming on the podcast soon, and they were the ones, I guess, working with Toronto to get some of the laneway housing approved and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So this is going to.
Oh, is it Lanescape? Maybe.
I think it is.
Yeah.
You know them?
Oh yeah, they helped draft like some of the preliminary bylaws.
Yeah, okay, got it. So I probably should know more about them. I don't know. Yeah, so they're coming on soon.
Okay,
but I just think that's a huge advantage to you. Mm-hmm. Holy smokes. So you get that approved. Sorry, Erica.
Victoria has this amazing talent that she sees things that people don't. Like even we go out together and I don't, like McCormick, I didn't see that one at all. Like she's like, oh, we'll just do this and it'll be
walk me through that more.
I don't know. Like even
that was the next one after this property, the second property in Welland.
It had been on the market like 115 days or something, and we went to go see it. I think I saw it, and then you came after.
Yeah, exactly.
We did that
because that's rare for you. Because Erica, you're really good at this real estate game.
But she's better. She's the designer.
No. Yeah. Because for you to walk away from a property and not see it is rare. Because you'll see an opportunity in things. So if you're walking away,
awesome.
So what did you see? Do you remember?
Yeah. So it was like quite a bit square footage, and then I was thinking about like. Adding a secondary suite again, but the basement was kind of small, obviously with like the mechanical room. So, and then also the entry to the basement was in the middle of the floor plan, so there was no exterior exit to it, and it was too close to the neighbor on the side to do like a side entrance there. So what I proposed was kind of splitting it vertically, adding a vertical wall, using the back entrance to be serving the basement suite. So the kitchen and the living room would be on the ground floor, and then the bedrooms would be in the basement. And then the front of the house would have like kitchen, living, and then the second floor would have the bedrooms. So it's more of like a vertical split.
So you're putting a wall right through the middle of this house vertically.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's rare. We don't typically. So Eric, I could see why you wouldn't see that, because we usually don't deal with that kind of stuff. So you see this house, and structurally you could put a wall. Did this wall go right through the basement too?
No, it didn't. So it's kind of just a partition wall. Like
Yeah.
it didn't go from top to bottom. It was kind of just splitting the ground floor in half so that you could use the front door for one unit and then the back door for the other.
And how did the upstairs work?
It was just all three bedrooms.
Three
bedrooms, 2 baths.
But you didn't have to split it.
No.
Okay, because the way it was laid out, it would work with just a partition wall. And by partition wall, you mean like a drywall wall
Exactly.
put through the middle.
Did you do your own drywall?
No,
No,
oh my
not
God.
that.
Learned
What about
that lesson.
soundproofing in that wall? Did you put some extra soundproofing in
Yeah,
there?
so that one needs to have 30-minute fire rating, and for a wall, it's a little different. I believe it's 1 layer drywall on one side and 2 on the other, because it's not just fire rating; it's also sound
Yeah.
rating. So
And the city could approve that. You
Yep.
knew because of the bylaws that they would approve that.
it's just building code. So yeah, so as long as you follow the building code. Yeah,
Okay,
it should
that's
be-
just building code.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not a second. So you're basically just putting up this partition wall. So it's not like a second basement suite of some sort. You're just following the building code and then renting out the two sides of the house.
Yeah, exactly. I guess depending on the bylaw, they could stipulate like the secondary suite or the second unit has to be in the basement, but usually they're not defining it that much. So in this case, it was partially on the ground floor and then in the basement. So they didn't have anything against that.
So and then because I'm slow this morning, obviously, the one is the main floor and upstairs. The other one is the main floor and downstairs.
Exactly.
This
So
is
it's kind
so
of like
smart.
2 L shapes. Like,
Yeah, yeah. Good for you.
Yeah.
Holy smokes. How much did you buy that property for, roughly?
$367.
Wow. And what is the income you're generating on that thing? Ballpark it.
It's like $3,500.
$3,500. Holy smokes. This is where people walk around and say, there's no more opportunity. Like, I can't tell you, Victoria, we just had a class last night, and we have probably like 4 or 5 questions. It's too late to buy real estate in the Golden Horseshoe. There's no opportunities left. And I just look around, I'm like, how hard are you looking? Like, there's opportunities everywhere. Now, your level of creativity here is amazing. Like, to do what you just did there, you basically bought a property on the unicorn 1% rule, on the amount of rent that you're generating to the property purchase. Like, nobody does that anymore. Nobody buy. Like, if people ask me, and if you're not familiar with the 1% rule, it's all these real estate books
Don't
that
even
were.
say it because people are.
I
gonna
know.
throw it.
I mean, when I
Don't-
talk
don't
about
even
it, you know
explain
what?
it.
Yeah, if you're interested, you Google that one up. I'll just leave. But that's freaky that you did that. Holy smokes.
And speaking about like opportunities, Erica and I just put one under contract, got one. So we just bought one off the MLS.
This is
so there
when,
are
like,
days ago.
this is
2
what you were
days-
mentioning when you came in. Okay, so
Exactly,
2
yeah.
days ago. Where's this one?
Welland.
In Welland.
There's a
Yeah.
Starbucks in Welland now, so it's
Oh
like
my
it's
God!
good
There's a
place to-
Starbucks.
right?
They're closing in Oakville. There's just
They
too
moved to
many.
Welland.
I had like at one point with I think the Longos had one. Then there was a Starbucks, and then there was one up the street, and another one there. Around me, I'm like, no wonder they're closing. Like, I had like 6 Starbucks around me. I'm like, there's just too many.
Every block.
Yeah, like everywhere you turn, there was a Starbucks. So they're going to Welland. There you go. It's
It's
an
a
up and coming destination.
We said it would be.
Yeah. So okay. So what is it? What's the property that you have? Is it a single family home?
Oh, that one. Yes, it's a single family home. It could either be a duplex or a triplex.
Oh, wow.
That I can convert it to.
I don't even know the triplex.
Yeah, I didn't. I was thinking
You
about
didn't
it.
tell me that.
Hey, you guys
No.
are a wonderful team here together. Yeah.
I
You're
was thinking about it more.
I went to see it, and then she had to. Anyways,
Yeah. Erica.
we haven't actually been there together.
No. So I was looking at it. So Erica saw it first, and then she showed that it was pretty good, and then we put an offer on it.
And now we know Erica's going to see something, but then Victoria's going to ramp it up to the next
yeah,
level.
exactly.
Clearly, you're making me look.
Yeah. Sorry, Erica. No, in Erica's defense, you are amazing and do a great job at all of this stuff.
But I think it could work really well as a duplex. When I visited, though, the main floor was even bigger than I thought it would be. So then I was like, wow, this is like crazy. It'd be almost like an oversized 3-bedroom upper unit. So then because it's so large, there is potential to split that, I think, into like a 2-bedroom unit and then a 1-bedroom unit, I think. And knowing how City of Welland works, I think the way we can do it is first we get a permit for a secondary suite. We can close that. And then once it's a 2-unit, we can add a third unit as a secondary suite and then close that permit.
Holy
So
smokes.
that's more specifically to Welland and how they kind of
Got
can
it.
allow that. Not all cities will allow like 3 units that way, but again, like City of Welland's pretty good in terms of adding affordable housing and kind of pro-development. So
It's funny. So now the education that you've received, you kind of went through. Is it a stage where you go through that stage of having that designation BCIN and then becoming an architect? What is
like
that?
learning these things, or
Yeah, like what is BCIN?
Oh, BCI stands for Building Code Identification Number, and it's a series of exams that you can take. And what it allows you to do is that you can sign off on drawings or stamp drawings up to 600 square meters and 3 stories in building height. So that's like perfect for smaller renovations, like adding a secondary suite or a small retail space or something like that. But anything beyond that, you would need to get somebody with, a higher designation so that you can build more or renovate.
And the
something
higher
larger.
designation is becoming an architect?
Now, architect, there's also a technologist, like an OAA technologist.
Okay.
But yeah, those would be the 2 other designations that would allow you to build more.
Yeah, got it. And so now you are an architect.
Yes.
You're done. You have your architect designation. Am I saying the right words here?
License.
License. You have your architect license. And it's something that you kind of just stumbled into. It's almost like after school, you had to choose what you were going to do.
It's actually like just following the path in a way. So
like it seems like the path is working for you, is what I'm trying to say.
I don't know. In my mind, it's all like jumbled together, but then slowly kind of made its way. It's maybe on the outside, it seems very linear, but
It does.
Yeah, it seems very linear. Bought a property before I went to school. Then I went to school to become an architect, and I kept buying properties. And I'm using what I learned to just creatively create cash flow from these properties. And I don't need to get a designer because I'm just going to do the drawings myself.
Right.
People are going to reach out and be like, I want to do what she did.
Yeah,
And we're
I
gonna
want
be
to
like,
become Victoria.
but you're not Victoria.
Yeah, sorry. There's only one Victoria.
Yeah.
So this is really cool. So this particular property, you guys aren't firm on this deal. You're looking at.
We firmed up.
Oh,
2
you
days
firmed
ago.
up on this deal. And this is a joint venture between the two of you?
No.
Oh, no. This is another property for Victoria.
Yeah.
Did you cut for some reason when you were saying it, I thought you were involved in this together.
No.
Are your sisters cut out from this property as well? I know you love your sisters and your family. So if they're ever listening to this, I don't mean to suggest that you're not trying to incorporate them into this.
No, I've told them, I was like, if you want to invest in real estate, like I'm still open to it. I think they're just more, they don't want the hassle, or even when I've proposed like I'll be the active investor, they're not super interested, but I've always left that door open if they are. So they know I'm continuing to buy properties, and they've joked like, oh, when are you going to stop? And I'm like, I don't know, I guess when it's boring, or I don't know, whenever I feel like it. But it's still fun to me. But this property in particular, I have proposed it to some joint venture partners. Nobody's kind of jumped on board yet. So if not, then I'm going to take that on myself, and that's cool. Like it's basically like a home run deal, so it's no brainer in my mind. ...
Opportunity.
Yeah, it's basically, I don't know why. No one
Call
wants to
this
jump in on this.
number.
It's a home run opportunity. Why do you think it's a home run? What is the income on this property? What type of income do you think you can generate on this?
So we bought it for $460, and it could be a duplex or triplex. If it's a triplex, I think the rent could be like $4,200.
Because each $4,200, that much, eh? So walk me through each unit, what you think you would rent it for?
So like a 2-bedroom unit upper is like $1,600. 2-bedroom basement could be, say, $1,400.
Okay.
And then a 1-bedroom, let's say like $1,200.
$1,200, so $4,200.
Yeah.
And then, sorry, what did you buy it for?
$460.
$460. Holy smokes! Wow, good for you. And
That
then
puts you at the 1%.
yeah, let's not even talk about the 1%. But and then
unicorns.
right now it's being purchased as a single family.
It is, yeah.
So it's just the equity that you're going to get from turning this into a potential triplex, just that alone.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, based on acquiring it, renovating it, we could pull out a lot of the equity, if not all the equity, or like down payment and renovation costs when we refinance.
And that
you should be on HGTV now.
Yeah, you are an
You're like
HGTV
the
story.
Burr.
Yeah, yeah. So, and is that what you've been doing on past properties to help you buy future properties?
Exactly,
So,
yeah.
can you talk about that?
Sure.
Do you just go and refinance when available, when you can qualify? What's your thinking around refinancing?
Yeah. So ever since, I guess, buying the first one in Welland with Erica, that was a conversion. I've been doing that strategy of buying it, renovating it by adding a unit, lifting its value, and often, I guess, with the market doing so well, it's been able to pull out the equity and more. So that's been the way that I've been able to recycle my money and then put it into the next deal.
So you've been able to pull out all. So on the Kitchener property, you pulled out everything you put in.
So the Kitchener property, the market did so well, like that was supposed to be a buy and hold, but in 2 years I pulled out all my down payment.
Got it.
Same with St. Catharines.
You said it's supposed to be buy and hold. Have you sold the Kitchener property?
Well, I still have it.
Oh, you still have
but
it, but you've pulled out all of your initial down payment
Exactly.
and more from that property.
Yes, yeah. And same with the St. Catharines property. Like we bought that, and then 2 years later, it went up enough in value that I could pull out the down payment. So
2 years later, you pulled out your down payment.
yeah, it's
It's
like
funny.
I didn't need to do much work to it. Just
It's funny the bar that we're setting here because Nick and I, when we started, like we did the same thing, but it didn't happen in like 2 years. It took a little bit longer to be able to get enough equity to pull it out. And then we thought, oh my gosh, this real estate thing is magic because you use your down payment to buy a property. You wait a little bit. And when the banks will allow you, you'll be able to pull it out through a refinance or through a credit line or something. And then you just get your money back. But you don't lose the asset. That was like our...
I know, yeah, me too.
bank account.
Yeah, that was like, no one explained it to us. And then when you realize that, you're like, wait a second. I put my money in. I get it out a few years later and I keep the asset. And if rents are good and the property was purchased properly, it'll probably still pay for itself. Yeah. And then you go do it again and again. And it's why so many people, when they meet us, they're like, I want to be like Victoria. How did she buy all these properties? And we're like, you kind of just have to get started. Like, don't think...
She hit the markets at the right time.
Yeah.
That was a huge thing. And also she's not afraid to buy in not the prime areas. Like the first one in St. Catharines was downtown. Nobody was buying in downtown St. Catharines yet. She bought it. Great house.
Why did you feel okay about having her buy a property in downtown St. Catharines?
Because downtown St. Catharines is like one street to the next is hit or miss, right? Like any downtown neighborhood. So the street that she's on is a great street. There, other properties on the street. There's a couple. I sold a couple on that street in the same kind of time period. So, I felt good about the area. Same as Welland. I mean, the first one is like... That
was an A neighborhood, right?
Yeah. So that one's Chippewa Park. The second one, that's not where people were shopping when you were shopping. Mm-hmm. Then the third and the last one you bought is like prime location. But the one before that, classic, is, investors had not ventured. I mean, now they are. Like they're kind of spreading out. But it was when we first started investing in St. Catharines, it was that perfect north end triangle. Everyone wants to be in the north end. Well, by that point, Victoria was out of the north end, so she's seen a huge appreciation.
So you were just like, it's almost like, the early adopter in tech. You were just early in those areas and you kept moving early. Then you were in Welland. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And not afraid to wait for the gratification to come. She didn't want to buy a prime north end St. Catharines neighborhood for whatever the price was then. I mean, they're worth more now, but still, she was willing to take the risk outside the box.
Yeah, just jumping into, I think we did get into Welland before it went insane. But even I remember when we were buying in St. Catharines, she was already telling me about Welland. But St. Catharines was
Erica's
already...
planting the seed. Hey, St. Catharines is great. Like, I know I just got you into this downtown area, but there's this other area. Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed a bit early at the time. But then I was thinking when I eventually bought in Welland, like how much it could have been like even better.
Yeah.
But it's
oh
always
my gosh, we all have that.
Exactly.
Listen, when we were on the Hamilton Mountain, I'll never forget this. One of my old neighbors bought a semi-detached 4-level back split on the Hamilton Mountain for $195,000. These are in the days when we had the sellers pay for our closing costs, if you could believe it. Wow. All documented on the agreement of purchase and sale. Wow. And back then you could do investor 5% down. So he bought this thing at $195,000. You do the math on 5% down. The thing cash flowed at 5% down. And I remember him, I'm not saying his name, but if he's listening, he knows who he is. I remember him thinking, I think you kind of ripped me off on that property, Tom. That was really high for like a semi-detached on the Hamilton Mountain. And I'm looking at him going, are you kidding me? If I had any more dollars to my name, I would be buying this property myself. Listen, if you don't buy this property, I'm just going to find every piggy bank I have at home and I will be buying this thing. I don't even know what that 4-level backsplit on the Hamilton now. Beautiful community.
Yeah. 1.2.
Yeah, yeah. But everyone thinks they kind of like missed it. You know, everyone's always, and Nick and I, someone else on our team, when Hamilton Mountain single family homes, it was someone on our team said, oh my gosh, we're not gonna be able to do this anymore. We've missed it because a single family home on the Hamilton Mountain now is $234,000. You know, and that was a legit fear because we were at like 219. Just think about that. That's how things change. It went from 219 to 234 and we were like, whoa, cash flow numbers are going to hurt. We've missed the boat here. What are we going to do? And so I think everybody goes through that. And as you have some more experience, let this be like a warning for you. As you have more context and more experience, sometimes it works against you because you reflect back on what was.
Yeah, even this past year, I think like looking back to the prices we got last year compared to now, being able to adjust your expectation quick enough for the market and being able to make your offers is challenging, but like that's a skill in itself, I think, because like if you're too busy reflecting on like the prices we got properties a year ago, there's no way we could have bought that property today, even though we look at it and it's probably like a really good deal, but it's still $100,000 more than like what we bought a property a year ago. So being able to adjust your expectations so you can continue to keep going is really important.
Skill.
You also see the glitter in the sand, though. I mean, she finds properties that's like, this has been on the 115 days.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe, I think that's the number. I think it was 100.
I'm going to vertically divide this property.
Why are we even going to this house?
Erica, you do not see the opportunity here. This is a no-brainer. I'm going to do a vertical wall. We'll put the bat insulation here for noise-proof and the soundproof. Here we go. We're good to go.
I knew if anybody could do it, Victoria could do it. I mean, but yeah, I didn't.
But it's interesting what you're saying about expectations because it happens to us even here at Rockstar. We were just having this discussion that someone couldn't believe in Hamilton rents. Rents don't always move with property prices. So sometimes property prices go high and then you discount an area. So that's what happened to this person. They were like, oh my gosh, Hamilton's done. And then they just found out that rents on a second suite kind of duplex, someone just got $2,400 upstairs plus utilities, $2,000 basement level plus utilities. That's $4,400. So now they were like, oh my gosh, I had discounted an area, but now that rents have kind of caught up, I can go buy a single family home, turn it into a second suite, and I'm going to be generating easily over $1,000 a month in cash flow on this particular property. But in their mind, they had kind of neglected that area. Yeah. So we all go through your point of like, you always have to kind of like retrain yourself. And the way Nick and I do it for real estate, because we look at the prices now and we're like, holy smokes, like...
Yeah, you have way more context than me too. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, I still make fun of Nick on this one particular property that he ripped me off on at $250,000 that now is about to cross over $1 million in Hamilton. And when we said that if that ever happens as a joke, that the real estate market was over. We're like, if that property ever is worth $1 million, we know, because it's like slightly crooked, like the whole property is like... Yeah. Like this one property, we look at it and we're like, why? Remind me again. I didn't even...
hire Victoria to straighten your house.
Yeah. We actually had Andy Tran also looking. He's like, hey, you guys want me to look at that? You want me to do some drawings on that property for you? Yeah, so we'll have Victoria out there. We need a power team. We need like everyone in.
You have enough equity to straighten the house.
No, we totally do. And it's we were actually talking about just bulldozing the thing down and like rebuilding like a proper kind of student rental property there. But anyway, one of the ways we kind of, I don't want to say trick our minds, but keep ourselves focused on what's happening is all the monetary policy stuff. So we like to look at what's going on like in the world with debt and deficits and stuff. And then when we see what the government's going to do with more debt, we're like, hey, if they're just going to put this much more money into the system, scarcer assets like real estate are probably going to do well, especially when you mix in a growing population base into the prime economic engine of the country. So that's kind of how we do it. We're like, this is helping us think property prices are even going to go further than they are today. And part of me is wondering over the next 10 years, because property prices have somewhat tripled in some areas in the last decade. Yeah. And we're wondering, okay, like, can it keep that pace? And then sometimes I'm like, well, I doubt that it can keep that pace. But then I look at the amount of debt that's being created in the world. I'm like, what happens if I'm wrong? Like, what happens if they're not tripling? What happens if they're going more? And anyone listening out there, I'm definitely not guaranteeing the property prices go up even 1%. But that's the kind of thought process. Yeah. I'm like, where do we go from now? More people supply is increasing, but it's not increasing dramatically. So it's going to be fascinating to see.
Yeah, I just read they're considering raising the upper limit of high ratio mortgages. So now you can only do 1 million if you do less than 20% down. But now they're considering increasing the limit to 1.25 million. Is that something you've seen?
Yeah, we have. And that's the number one question we get. Like, how are people going to continue to afford to buy? And I just think the government's going to make these changes constantly, including there's more talk of possibly for first-time home buyers extending amortization periods.
Right.
Because it's not fair that first-time home buyers can't afford, and one of the ways they can afford it is dropping the payments by extending the amortization.
Mortgages are coming back.
Yeah. Said another way, the banks are going to make more money on a longer amortization schedule, and the politicians look good because people can buy properties. It doesn't actually solve any of the bigger problems that we all have. But I think we're going to see more and more of those kinds of announcements, and I think it'll spread out to beyond first-time home buyers. Like they'll start with some of high ratio changes, like you're saying, first-time home buyers maybe getting longer amortization schedules, and then it rolls into like other programs. Yeah. So.
Like I even fell into that like a little bit. I bought a property to live in finally in Toronto, and
you bought a property to live. What are you doing, Victoria?
Yeah,
what is like you live in your own property?
I know. I was trying to like push that as far away as possible, but finally did it, and. I felt a bit of that pressure as well, like being in Toronto and seeing the prices go and being like, everything's $1 million, and like, if it keeps going this way, like, how are you going to afford it? And us kind of being in like a pretty good position for us to be even considering that is just alarming in a way.
Yeah, good for you. I mean, you've earned everything you've been able to do here at this point. Let's admit it. And so what are you doing now? You're working, but you've also started your own firm. You have like a side hustle that's going to become a permanent hustle for you, or are you trying to figure things out?
I'm just kind of seeing how it goes. I think right now there's different options, like whether I want to do real estate full time or do architecture and design. Right now I'm kind of doing that on the side. I've been helping other investors, whether they want to add a second suite or they want to like go through a rezoning process, like sever a lot, different things. People have kind of reached out and asked about different things. So if people have something like that, they can reach out. So
what's your contact information for that?
They can reach out to me on Instagram. My handle is BuildXLab, BuildXLab. I'm sure you can add that in the notes.
So BuildXLab?
Lab is
lab.
L-A-B.
Sorry, I'm thinking slab like a concrete slab. Sorry, BuildXLab. Yeah, cool. I like that. You are 30, handing out your main contact information as your Instagram handle.
I don't even have Instagram.
Yeah.
I think that's the easiest way to reach out, and they can.
So we'll put your Instagram handle in the show notes of this episode.
Sure,
so if you're listening to this on the road, you can go to rockstarinnercircle.com/podcast, find Victoria's episode, and in the show notes, your Instagram handle will be right there.
Yeah, perfect.
And that's for severing lots as well. You're doing that kind of stuff, or helping people with that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So I actually have a property. I'm hoping to do that. I talked to the city of Welland, and they're pretty good with the proposal.
Is it a corner lot or something?
No, it's
Which property are you talking
no, I bought it privately.
That Sorry, Erica, I bought this one right behind your back.
No, that one I bought privately, and it's on a double lot, so I'm hoping to split that and then maybe build on it. But I proposed the plan to the city, and they're open for me to put a triplex or a fullplex on it. So it's just a matter of going through that process. But
when you split it, you would keep the existing property, that build structure that's on it?
Yes,
And
exactly.
What is it? What did you say it was? Single family home?
It's a triplex.
Oh, sorry. It's already a triplex.
It's already a triplex, and then we can sever the lot. And I proposed a triplex or a fourplex, and the city was open to that. So
that is the future. Yeah. Like, do you know Spencer Brown here at Rockstar yet?
No.
So Spencer Brown has been going around he was doing it in Orangeville. Now he's doing it in other parts of the Greater Toronto area, doing exactly like that. Right. He's looking for properties and going to the city to see if he can sever them. Then he's buying them and then severing them. And sometimes he'll sell off what he severed just to somebody else.
Right.
And it basically will pay for the property purchase, the down payment of the property purchase that he got and more.
Yep.
So he's just looking at it as a way to fund deals and do some of the builds like you're talking about. Mm-hmm. So I think that is definitely the future of kind of infill development here in the Golden Horseshoe.
In terms of pushing the envelope, Victoria is awesome. I mean, she designed my basement apartment in my house that I live in, and it was the first application in Ancaster for secondary suites, and it wasn't a smooth process, but Victoria, like, I wasn't allowed to put enough windows on the side that I wanted, and she just kind of jammed it, like she just jams it through, and it just, the second suite we're still working on, but I mean, she gets things approved that other people wouldn't even think about. So I mean, it's that creativity and that drive is awesome as a person working for you.
And so can you define, if someone is listening to this and wants to reach out to you, what is your ideal client for the type of work that you're doing? Can you just map that out again very clearly, just so if someone's listening to this, they know what you're looking for and they know what you're not looking for as well?
Oh, that's a tough question. It's pretty early days in terms of like the type of work I'm doing. I guess like one of the clients I'd be looking for would be anybody doing like a renovation, like a secondary suite like that. Those are pretty straightforward in my mind. But more recently, a big ask are looking for like lot severances, looking at kind of even feasibility studies of, have this project. I don't know how best to go about it. I have a lot of different ideas on like how I could add value to it. Can you kind of look at this and give me like 2 or 3 options? And then I can look at it in terms of the numbers and analyze it that way. So I've been kind of adding that as like a way to add value and provide my services. It's kind of like a design feasibility study. That's another way I think I could help.
Yeah, Victoria, you're just an amazing story. So I mean that very sincerely. Like, good for you on everything that you've accomplished. This is insane. This is amazing.
Retrofits too. I mean, there's a lot of clients that are maybe getting calls from the city on properties that were not legal or up to date. So Victoria has helped a couple of my clients or,
Right.
going in and saying, this is the minimum that you need to do, or, just to get that legal, status approval from the city. So they're not ripping it. Like a lot of contractors will say, oh, you got to, burn the house down and start over. Like, no, she'll come in and say, well, if you spend $8,000, you can legalize it. And now, you're good. Like kind of the minimum to satisfy the requirements, just to get kind of passed. So that's a huge money saver for clients.
And I think what you're offering is just the opportunity to make cash flow on properties where people don't think there's cash flow. Mm-hmm. Because when you put your kind of thinking towards a project, sometimes I think some people will discount things way too early. Mm-hmm. They'll look at something and say, this is just not possible. Mm-hmm. But talking to someone like yourself, Erica, because you're really good at this, for all our joking, I mean, you have been excellent at this. And Victoria, you're thinking around this. It just opens up possibilities where most people just don't see them. And I think that's always been shocking to Nick and myself. Like, wait a second, you don't see the opportunity here? Like, this is what's happening. You can make cash flow, you can buy property. And I think that's something you shared in your Member of the Month story, where you explained that you kind of took a pause from real estate because you didn't think you could buy any more properties.
Exactly, yeah.
But if you put your mind to it, there's always a way.
Exactly, yeah. It's just a matter of, I think it's more asking how rather than like, kind of letting that roadblock kind of hit you, rather than say like, oh, I can't afford this, just how can I afford this?
Yeah, the financial wall that everybody hits. I mean, you definitely got to that point and just kind of walked around it. Like, she just figured it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and looking back, like, I took a bit of a pause. It was, 2 years, I think. It wasn't like too long, but even then, I think knowing what I know now, there's like different ways that you could either like, refinance or find money elsewhere, joint venture. There's just so many possibilities. You just need to figure out like if you don't have like the money, then there are other ways to get the project going.
It's that cliche, find the property and the money will come. Yeah. I remember learning
except for the home run. She's saying, I have a home run here, and I have presented it to a few people.
People hearing that tagline, like find the property and the money will follow, I used to bang my head against the wall and be like, what does that even mean? How is that even possible?
That just sounds like some theory. That's
but
garbage.
It's so freaking true. Yeah. You find the property, you see vision in it, you share your vision, and people just throw money at you.
And if you look at it, there are massive enterprises now looking to buy like 100 single family homes at a time. Mm-hmm. Like there is enough money out there searching for a home. And it's what I've always thought is really advantageous for all of us, is that we are playing in this market where the big money, the institutional money really has still some difficulty. They can go buy big apartment building complexes and big commercial unit complexes and that kind of stuff. But to really get into the single family home game, lot severances, putting up a vertical wall, changing something from a duplex to a possible triplex, that's not their game. And it leaves a massive opportunity for individuals who want to get into the real estate market because the big money can't get in, and a lot of other individuals think the game's over and there's no opportunity in real estate. For those of us who are willing to think a little creatively and understand what's going on, and then understand maybe what's also going on in the money system, knowing that, hey, this is probably a good place to play, there's huge opportunity for all of us still, which I feel very grateful for. You know,
and like, I guess being creative, like that's where you find the best deals. Like you kind of see something that others do not, and then you find the value or create the value. And then that's when you can get a deal that's been on the market for 50 days or 100 days. And you see the value that, others don't.
She bought a property that had a concrete horse in the background. You know those great big
Italian
statues?
Totally, that's an Italian thing for sure.
Did you sell that thing? Did someone?
No, I think you helped me remove it.
The concrete horse is gone?
Want to give it to you.
Oh my God, you guys should have brought the concrete horse to the office. We could have brought the office here. For years, our house had two big lions. I always asked our dad, why do we have two big concrete lions on the end of our driveway? Like these lions, like what are they representing?
The paint job alone on that horse was so tacky. It was just...
It was like a painted spots like a cow, but as a horse, like on its hind legs.
I bet you people walked away from that property just because of the horse. Like seriously,
what is this concrete horse? How the heck do you even get it? Is that a 1-800-GOT-JUNK call? Here, take away.
It was in the backyard, I think.
Yes, it was in the backyard, and we put a clause that they had to remove the horse.
Oh, smart. Yeah, that's a smart clause. Please.
Don't want the horse.
I know you love your concrete horse, but get that concrete horse out of here before we move on. Victoria, thanks for sharing your story. Really, really appreciate this. Best of luck in everything that you're doing. And I don't even think you need luck. You're creating your own path. So really pumped to be able to share this story, and grateful because I know someone else is going to listen to this and take a lot from what you just shared.
We're going to get calls like in a couple of days that are like, I want to be her. And we're going to be like,
Yeah, Erica, can you find me? I really have this thing. I want to put a vertical wall because I think I want to buy a house and put a vertical wall in it.
Or they're going to want a concrete horse.
A concrete horse. Yeah. Cool. So you're on Instagram at BuildXLab, L-A-B.
Yes,
BuildXLab.
exactly.
That's where you can find Victoria. Anything else you'd like to share?
Yeah, reach out. Anybody that potentially wants to chat about joint venture partnerships, any design-related things, whether it's renovation, retrofit, or like a new build. Now that I have my license, sky's the limit. So could build apartment buildings or bigger things. So yeah, definitely open to having those conversations.
Oh my gosh, now that you're an architect, who knows what's coming with Victoria? You're right. Holy, you're not capped. You're not capped anymore.
Build the Rockstar Tower.
Yes, guys. Yeah. The only thing missing on the top of this building is the spinning sign that I've always wanted with the Rockstar logo on it.
We can make it happen.
Yeah. Thank you, Victoria. I knew this was going to lead to some greatness here. And Erica, do you want to, is it rockstarbrokerage.com? You can find Erica. Do you want to hand out anything else right now, or is that the best place to find you?
I don't have Instagram. I'm not as cool as Victoria.
Yeah.
So.
Do you want to hand out your email or anything, or no?
Yeah,
Rockstar Brokerage.
Erica at Rockstar Brokerage. Yeah.
Erica.
With a K.
Erica with a K at rockstarbrokerage.com. Thanks to both of you. Really appreciate this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. You can find every new episode of the Your Life, Your Term show on all the major streaming platforms. So Spotify, iTunes, Google Play. And if you'd like to get free copies of some of the books that we've put together, like these right here, or some of the reports that we've put together, like these right here, you can find all of those at www.rockstarinnercircle.com. That's www.rockstarinnercircle.com. That's it for now. Until next time, your life, your terms.